And you know how she was able to do it? You really want to know?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Y'all want to know?
Yes,
sir. Okay. But let me warn you all, if you're going to do it, you better have a strong stomach and you better know God.
Oh, yeah.
To learn what has happened in this family from back then up to this point, you better have a strong stomach and you best know God if you want to face what you're going to learn.
Right.
I want to tell you the story of Bina. So he said, Bina, go out there in the yard and be by yourself. So Bina go out in the yard and even play around and play around. And then Bina look up and he see a red cloth. As soon as Bina been reach up behind somebody, grab him and put something on top of his head. People choose stories that they want to tell, and we have a lot of wonderful stories that are being told about Africa and those who came out. But I think that story, the reason I'm so emotional with it is that that arm of the ancestry is glad to be on the table, to be heard. And they ride, and they ride. 8 times the moon come up and go down. And then they get to this place, and that man that had on that long coat and that long thing been hanging down from his mouth, tell him, say, get down. This your home now. To take it back to Africa and tell it on African soil was beyond my wildest expectations. So I left her there and probably won't tell that story much anymore because it's so hard to tell. It's just a difficult story.
We got people, but how are they tied to this bill?
Exactly.
When this has been going on for centuries. Now.
How do I even begin to tell this story? Let's start with my name. I'm Darian Akito Wigfall. And I always thought about the phrase, but never really dove into it. What's in a name? Would you expect to find a Confederate colonel from the Civil War who tried to negotiate the end of the Civil War on his own, a Revolutionary War captain who had enslaved people confiscated from him because he was a British loyalist, and then one of those enslaved people then telling the story in their older age of being next in line to be king in their own tribe, but being tricked by their uncle and sold to slave traders, possibly in Sierra Leone? Would you expect to find that in one name? Would you expect to find that in your name? Well, that's what I found in mine. And when you look up the name Wigfall, you can find some of these things yourself. Now, by the end of this series, you'll see that my research shows how my family and the people that enslaved us are integral to the beginning of the United States, the beginning of the state of South Carolina, and to the transatlantic slave trade itself, all in one family. And it starts with one man named Samuel Wigfall, which is also my father's name.
And you know it from way back when things happened in this family, that there was a will. But the thing is, nobody was going to show it and bring it out. The will had been found, and the hidden will, that has been found too. Great-great-grandmama, when she got what she did through marriage, and they split it up and bust up, because what happened was timber company got involved with it down through the years. And there was a big dispute off of that will that was supposed to be coming to this family, and it did not go through because it was a dispute. And she fought and she fought and she fought until she got her deeded will. Understood? 13 and a half acres. It was a little more than that for her, because half of the other acres that she lost, she was not forced, but you know, because of things that were going on back then, sold 6.5 acres. So what has happened was, a lie was put out to the family. Her heirs at that time, and what was deeded and what's on that will, was to William, the son, George, the son, Pauline, the daughter, Elizabeth, the daughter, Mary, the daughter, and David. Those were the 5. Elsie, Wakefall, Haywood, White Haywood was not an heir on that deed. Now here comes the conspiracy. Back in 1926, 30 up to 34, your great-grandmama took a licking just like some of us taking a licking right now, fighting everything that come in front of her. Everybody tried to steal what she had. It ran her crazy. People didn't like her, nobody liked her. And the one who fought for her, she had to fight her own family to keep what she got, what was duly hers. White, black, and everybody that knew her. No education, but stood on what was hers. And trying to pass that on to the family. But no, family member couldn't wait on her. They went and done what they wanted to do themselves. And as soon as she closed her eyes, those 6.5 acres was deeded to George Gear. $100.
Okay, so it's so crazy. Life is wild, man. And I'm in South Carolina. I'm actually in Pawleys Island, South Carolina. I've never been to this area before, but this is where my people are from. My grandfather was born here and then moved up to Camp Lejeune, which if you've seen those commercials lately, to get a job during the post-World War WPA era, to get a job, and then had my dad and he moved away. But like, I'm looking up the white side of the Wig Falls, and it's just a crazy, crazy history. The other part of it is like where I'm staying in a place called Pawleys Plantation, PAWLEY' Plantation. And of course, there's plantation stuff all over the South. That's not a big deal. Well, it is a big deal. It should be changed, but that's not my point. What's wild about it is if you look out the window behind me, I don't know, we'll just go out the door. If you look out behind me, you see a golf hole right there, and I'm at a golf course, country club kind of place where you stay. And if you look across there, just across there, right? Just across the hole, and maybe 500 feet further, my family owns some ancestral land that was either given or sold to my great-great-great-great-great-grandmother, Mary Ann Wakefall. And so I'm here to kind of handle some business with that this weekend. But in digging into the research, it's just getting wilder and wilder, bro. And so I just kind of wanted to start to document some of this, because it could be interesting to people, or, you know, be developed into something. Maybe other families are going through this, but it's just, look up Louis Wakefall. If you've not heard of this dude, look him up. I'm going to do some more research tomorrow, and I'll continue to share what I find. This is when I was just literally going to South Carolina to take care of some business for family land for my father, who's now passed away, to represent him, right? And so I picked a spot literally next door to the land that we own in South Carolina as a family. Heirs property, if you know that. And so I know a lot of stories in my family up from the 1900s because of this land, and meeting my family, going to visit my grandparents and aunts and uncles and things like that. But all I knew about this land was that it was like ancient, and that our ancestor had inherited it. You can hear me say great, 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 because I didn't understand how closely related the woman who actually purchased this land outright after her father, Friday Great, was enslaved, emancipated, and then I believe, given this land through the Freedmen's Bureau and Field Order Number 15, specifically because of where it's located in South Carolina and where the land that was confiscated from previous slave owners is from South Carolina to Florida. So Mary Ann Wigfall is my great-great-grandmother. So not that far back, 3 generations, right? So my father, Samuel Wigfall, who I talked about in the intro, is the one that told me about this land, has taken me out to North Carolina to visit family that knew about land, but this is actually the very first time that I've ever visited the area where the land is. And so I picked this place called Pawleys Island Plantation Golf Club Resort. And so it's next door to our land, but it's also still called Plantation, right? So that was blowing my mind to start with. Then the name Plantation being in the name of the place that I was staying made me think maybe I should look up how we got this land in the first place. Now I know that it was through Friday Great, or at least lost by the estate of Friday Great and then purchased back by Mary Ann Wigfall. But at this time, I had no clue. And so I just Googled Wigfall Plantation, South Carolina, and Louis Wigfall was the first person that came up. I really had no inclination to record any of this trip. I was going to go take care of some business, come back, we were going to be done, and we are going to kind of done with that meeting, and then kind of move on with what the family wanted to do with this land. That was my initial plan, and then I did one simple Google search, and everything else that you've seen has come from that one Google search and the motivation to document.
But that piece of property you're talking about across that road, that property was sold after Grandma was dead for years.
Right, that's the only part I know about too.
That property across
The
that
Lone
road
Oak
in front of
place,
where I left
yeah.
the house at, that property was sold years after Grandma died. That was in the courthouse, and I thought I had a copy of it, but I don't have it with me now.
Okay, since you said that is true, it was sold years after the day my grandma died. As a matter of fact, that property was recorded as sold in 1964. Elsie, through her conspiracy in the family back then, she deviled all the heirs that she could devil. George, William, Lizzie, Mary, and also Pauline, and everybody, to sign their deed over to her. And, she went to Lawyer Bunch and sold that 6.5 acres illegally. Couldn't get a deed for it, so she just went ahead and billed on the plot there because she billed under what was sold to her. That deed was never cleared up. And Neil came after they found all these things out. Neil and them went after that 6.5 acres. But the family was feuding way back then. And let me tell y'all something. She had the deeds, could have clarified all these all the time. All the heirs, all they had to do was come together and cut the land up. Everybody would have had their land and go on with life. And instead, y'all all tie into the deed.
Right.
Everything is this and that. Use everybody as a fool. She ran and built her kingdom and left y'all out. The only person got money from that is those that got it, and those who got it, they knew who got it. So, Deborah, to answer your question, yes, you tied to the family, but are you tied to the deed?